Archbishop Ibezim inaugurates 3 parishes in his diocese. Bishop Uguzo of Aba Diocese remind Christians of what God is able to do in their lives. An evangelical defender of the Christian faith, Ravi Zacharias, dies at 74. Hello and welcome to the News on the Hour, brought to you from the Advent Cable Network Nigeria, ACNNTV. I am Rachel Igbunu. The Archbishop of the Ecclesiastical Province of the Niger and Bishop of Awka Diocese, Anglican Communion, the Most Reverend Alexander Ibezim, has inaugurated 3 new parishes in the Anglican Communion as he warned Christians to be wary of their actions and inactions in the Church of God to avoid the wrath of God. Because, according to him, the church is not a social club where one behaves and does as he or she likes. The parishes inaugurated were St. Stephen's Anglican Church Parish Awka, Our Saviour's Anglican Church Parish Awka, and St. Barnabas Anglican Church Parish Nimo. In his sermon at the inauguration of St. Barnabas Anglican Church Nimo in Jokoka local government area, Anambra State, Archbishop Ibezim appealed to the parishioners to understand their church workers and tolerate them by correcting them with love for the progress and development of their parishes and communities. He reminded them that everything that has a beginning surely has an end. Hence, Christians should embrace God as their Alpha and Omega always, adding that church workers doing the will of God should not be worried as God will always be their provider. The cleric also warned Christians to stop discriminating and being judgmental of others in the church, adding that the duties of Christians is to evangelize in all ramifications and draw people to God with hope for salvation and nothing else. As part of efforts to cushion the effect of coronavirus pandemic, the Diocese of Ohada COVID-19 Parliamentary Committee has begun the distribution of foodstuffs and other consumables to vulnerable members of the diocese. At a brief ceremony where items were handed over to the Reverend Canon Chijoke Oboru led committee at the Cathedral Church of St. Paul, Ahada in Ahada East local government of Rivers State. The Bishop of Ahada Diocese, Right Reverend Clement Ikpe, charged members of the committee to ensure equitable distribution of the items to targeted vulnerable members of the diocese. Bishop Ikpe said the gesture was born out of the desire to attend to members of the needy in the diocese, including some pastors, occasioned by the coronavirus pandemic that has ravaged the global community, while also urging other diocesan members to continue in their fervent prayers for God's intervention. Bishop Ikpe thanked God for the opportunity to share in these trying times, urging other well-to-do members to partake in the exercise by donating to the committee to achieve set objectives. He maintained that regular washing of hands with soap in running water, the use of hand sanitizer, wearing of face masks, and social distancing should be practiced within the period in the diocese. Responding, Chairman of the Diocese of Ahada COVID-19 Palliative Committee, Reverend Canon Chijoke Oboru, thanked Bishop Ikpe for the well-thought-out initiative to remember the needy in this period of global concerns, promising to actualize the vision with his committee members by reaching out with the food items to the vulnerable members of the diocese. One of the assurance Christians have is that Christ is ready to do anything for them if they truly believe in him. And so Christians have been urged to cast all their cares and worries upon Jesus Christ as he is able to take care of them. The Anglican Bishop of Aba Diocese, the Right Reverend Christian Uguzo, made this known while preaching in an online service.
Cast upon him all your cares, all your worries, all your anxieties, for he cares for you. That will bring sorrow to your life. Cast it above to Jesus and you'll be relieved. You'll be saved. You'll be delivered. Philippians 4:6 says, do not worry about anything. Do not die. Don't commit suicide. Don't give up. Don't lose hope. But in everything, in the good,
The online service is brought to you by the Church of Nigeria and features different dioceses in the Church of Nigeria Anglican Communion every Sunday on ACNNTV. The Diocesan Bishop of the Diocese of Niger West Anglican Communion, the Right Reverend Johnson Ekwe, has visited the community where a communal crisis led to the destruction of a parish, St. Andrew's Anglican Communion, the vicarage, women ministry building stores, diocesan hospital equipment and all the personal belongings of the vicar, Reverend Canon Sunday Odegbunam, in his diocese. It will be recalled that a simmering land dispute between two communities, Umumbo and Omo, early this month erupted into full-blown conflict, leading to the destruction of a parish and other properties belonging to the church. The bishop, in the company of some clergy, a member of the House of Representatives, Right Honorable Barrister Vincent Ofumelu, and other members of the community went around the place of the incident to see the rate of damages done, as they called on the two brothers to stop the fight and embrace peace.
Is it a war against the church or community dispute? What is the problem? In conventional wars, hospitals, churches, and the clergymen and their workers and their houses are always spared. The clergyman is like an umpire. Even if my community is fighting with another community, I should be an umpire to bring them together. So what has it done? It's sad. Niger West is not happy with this development. We feel bad. We feel humiliated. We feel not loved. With all the effort we are making to impart on communities in Ayamelum, why are we black people like this? Why are we so wicked to ourselves? I can't understand this. And then you have the same blood, the same people, the same mother and father, and you are doing this thing. And the church is here, and the church that should have come to bring light to you people, you are burning the church.
Doing good works without Christ means absolutely nothing before God, and so Christians have been reminded that the reason why they are saved is to always do good works, and whatever they do without Christ is condemned and not acceptable in the sight of God. An Anglican priest, the vicar of the Church of Transfiguration, Gadua, Abuja, the Reverend Canon Dr. Emmanuel Imahai, made this known when he appeared on ACNN's program, The Parables.
The reason why we are saved is to do good works, but good works cannot save us.
Okay.
No matter how we do good works, if we don't have Jesus in us, we are not saved. But salvation comes to us by grace. For instance, if you go to John 3:16 from verse 18, he said, "He who does not believe in the one and only begotten Son of God is condemned already." So whatever we do without Christ is condemnation. It's not acceptable. So, but when we have Christ, we are saved unto good works. And that is transformation that is within, that comes within. It is expressed in good works that we do. So it is not as if you are forcing yourself to do the good works. Because of that transformation, good works is now part of your life. For instance, a lot of people are helping out during this COVID-19 pandemic. They've never probably done it before, but now they are doing. But this is what they ought to do regularly. Good works is part of your life when you are a child of God. So it's a basis for you to know that this person is actually a child of God or not. So we are not saved by good works, but we are saved unto good works.
The Parable is a must-watch program on ACNNTV every Saturdays by 1 p.m. with a repeat broadcast Mondays 9:30 a.m., Thursdays 7 p.m. anchored by Nzebechi Frank. And still to come, Malawi church leaders sue for peace in the country. These and other stories when we come back after the break. Please stay tuned.
COVID-19 is not airborne. The virus that causes the disease is transmitted through droplets. When people cough or sneeze, droplets land on nearby surfaces that you may touch. Therefore, clean surfaces regularly. Avoid touching your eyes, nose, or mouth. Wash your hands with soap and water or alcohol-based hand rub. Maintain a physical distance of at least 2 meters from people, always. And if you are ill, wear a face mask to avoid infecting others.
Welcome back. For more on our top stories, please visit our website at acnntv.com or our social media platforms on facebook.com or youtube.com/ACNNTV. And to be up to date with our news and other programs, download the VM Africa app from Android and iOS stores. And away from church stories, a former group general manager with NNPC, Mr. Jonas Odocha, has frowned at the trending influx of truckloads of able-bodied youths across borders of the northern part of the country into other states. According to him, what are able-bodied youths and even Amajorays moving down the south for at this perilous time in defiance to government orders and the laxity of security operatives across numerous state borders? The elder statesman made this known during an interview as he encourages all the southern governors to seek the audience of the president on the issue.
There is a global pandemic caused by a novel virus, a virus the world is not used to. And there are fears about the contagion because it's a highly contagious virus. And countries are trying to make sure that the spread is contained. Therefore, a lot of measures are being put in place to reduce the contagion. But the issue is this, I must give you a background to this device. Some state governors decided to repatriate the Almajiris to the state of origin. And that is why people are worried. And with the, look at the issue of a lot of Almajiris testing positive, and there must be discipline. A lot of security agencies are praising their functions. Why should truckloads of people go all the way from Sokoto, cross several borders, and get into the south? There's so much compromise, which is not really in good taste. So my advice to the governors in the south is this: they should be able to make a concerted effort to reach Mr. President and complain about this. And then Mr. President should be able to now make a very categorical statement.
And now to international scenes. Church leaders in Malawi have urged calm in the face of rising political tensions before the 2nd July 2020 elections in the country. Last week, a building belonging to the United Transformation Movement was firebombed, killing members of a family that resided on the premises. General elections were held in Malawi on 21st May 2019. The incumbent President Peter Mutharika of the Democratic Progressive Party was re-elected, with his party remaining the largest in the National Assembly. However, on the 3rd February 2020, the country's Constitutional Court annulled the election results due to evidence of irregularities and ordered fresh elections. The Public Affairs Committee, Malawi's Interfaith Coalition, released a statement last week denouncing the rising political violence. According to the statement, the incident is condemnable in strongest terms as it violates human rights and aims at intimidating the democratic contestation of ideas and at silencing alternative voices. The statement continued that the barbaric, cowardly and uncivilized acts of violence manifest a sense of desperation as Malawi moves towards the fresh presidential election. They therefore called for an investigation into the attack so that perpetrators are held accountable for their actions without discrimination, and called for an open and inclusive dialogue in dealing with political disputes. President Donald Trump of the United States said he is considering a travel ban on Latin American and called the high number of U.S. COVID-19 cases a badge of honor because it means the U.S. is testing more people. He was speaking during a meeting with his cabinet in the East Room of the White House in Washington, saying considering a travel ban on Latin America and Brazil in particular, which now has the third highest number of diagnosed coronavirus cases in the world, will make him not to worry.
Testing 14 million people, you're going to find many more cases. Many of these people aren't very sick, but they still go down as a case. So actually the number of cases, and we're also a much bigger country than most. So when we have a lot of cases, I don't look at that as a bad thing. I look at that as, in a certain respect, as being a good thing because it means our testing is much better. So if we were testing 1 million people instead of 14 million people, we would have far fewer cases, right? So I view it as a badge of honor. Really, it's a badge of honor. It's a great tribute to the testing.
And on a touching note, a popular evangelical defender of the Christian faith, Ravi Zacharias, has died. The U.S. evangelist Ravi Zacharias, who believed that those skeptical about religion need to be engaged in a healthy debate rather than scorned, died at the age of 74 at his hometown in Atlanta on Tuesday, 19th May, after battling cancer. He was a leading figure among Christians apologists, a branch of Christian theology that defends Christian doctrines against objections. Zacharias founded Zacharias International Ministries in 1984 and launched a global team of nearly 100 Christian scholars and authors who continue to speak, research, train, and address the questions of millions around the world. He was born on the 26th March 1946 in Madras, India, into an Anglican family, though he was an atheist until the age of 17 when he had an encounter with God after he tried to commit suicide. Zacharias is survived by his wife, Maggie, daughters Sarah and Naomi, son Nathan, and 5 grandchildren. And now to sports stories. Jurgen Klopp was pictured heading into Liverpool's Mildweed facility, donning a face covering as the Reds prepared to resume training. The runaway Premier League leaders are to recommend small group sessions as the top flight in England steps up preparations towards a potential June return amid the coronavirus pandemic. Meanwhile, prior to the suspension of the Premier League in March due to the outbreak of coronavirus, Liverpool were 25 points clear of second place, Manchester City. Italian Footballers Association President Damiano Tomasi wants players to have at least 4 weeks of training before resuming the Serie A season. Clubs have been cleared to start team training amid the coronavirus pandemic, although Serie A is not expected to return until at least June 15th. With the campaign having been suspended in March. As expected, there will be further details when it is set to be known when and if the season will restart. And that is it on the News on the Hour. Thanks for watching. I am Rachel Egbunu.